The No Nonsense Roundtable, a weekly radio show and podcast where host Dom Genova interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. And now, here's your host, Dom Genova.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of your No Nonsense Roundtable, now commercial free on WISL, WLEA, and all the previous shows are on nononsenseroundtable.com, and you can see them there. And today I have a frequent guest, I would say. I have the esteemed sheriff of the County of Monroe, Todd Baxter. Todd, it's great to see you.
Mr. Genova, always a pleasure to be with you. And your show is just amazing how it's morphing, it's taken off, and your followership's getting really quite the breadth to it. I'm amazed that you've taken many different avenues and just keep on plugging away, and your message is getting out there. I hear people talking about it all the time. Dave Bass, you mentioned his name, and I seen him earlier this week. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. You know, I had Scott Petoniak on last week, and he really defined it very well, because not everybody understands this show. You know, some people, why didn't you say such and such? Why? You had somebody there and he could have commented on this and why. First of all, this is like a conversation. Okay. Yeah. It's not an interview. It's a conversation. Like, I'm sitting next to somebody at a bar, at a restaurant. Why am I going to hammer this guy about anything? Oh, what do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? Even if I disagree, I'm not going to, have this guy, throw a drink in my face. And I think that compels people, well, like you, to come on the show and know, this isn't a gotcha thing. I'm not trying to get you on anything. I want to educate people. People you want to know more about, and people that you don't know that you should know. So, the job of law enforcement has really changed in the past year, and this year it seems to be, when you have these public officials that are that are saying that that they have an opposite of view of federal law enforcement. I can understand somebody being a sanctuary city or whatever, but when the leaders get up there and say to physically resist something, I mean, I can't subscribe to that. I mean, we don't have that here, thank God.
No, we got a much more cordial relationship amongst even politicians. We can disagree on different things, but I don't think it's so cutthroat and so antagonistic as you see in other parts of the country, which is not healthy for the environment of our communities, right? It doesn't help anybody taking these strong positions and saying, to the death, this is my position.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on, people. Let's be a little more graceful towards each other. Let's be a little more understanding of other people's point of views. This immigration thing's a federal problem. If you think about it, it's been. I did an essay in 2018 about immigration, and they need to fix the laws, right? The laws are the weak point, and we've seen that with the opening of the borders. Now we see with the mass deportation, and end users like us at local government are stuck at the end of this thing all the time. When the feds do these crazy, drastic things instead of an ebb and flow of the way our government's supposed to work. With a little up and down once in a while with change of administration, but we see this grandiose, great change, and everybody swings so hard left or right.
Yeah,
it's confusing for the public. It's confusing for the end user, and most often law enforcement stuck in the middle of it at the end of these political games.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it's like the mayor there. He's he used the F word. F. ICE. That's not helpful. I mean, that really isn't helpful, because when you just generally speaking, when you have leadership saying something is completely wrong and go resist it, don't get surprised when people go out there and resist it, in irrational ways. I mean, you see some of this stuff, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I've said it, I wish President Trump would be more presidential, right? You can have different, and same thing with the mayor that made that comment. You have a position in our government that has authority, but also has responsibility. And part of that responsibility is calm things down, not overreact and incite things. It goes both ways, right? Rest needs to stop. And how about we have some deep conversations, or how about we pass federal legislation related to immigration, like I've been asking for almost a decade. Let's fix the immigration laws and let's follow the laws. Legislators create these laws, and the executive branch executes the law. And so we can't just let the legislative branch of government get away with all this too. They need to stabilize the situation with good, thoughtful laws about our immigration policies.
Right. There's no amount of resistance that you're going to do on the ground unless you can dominate whatever your opponent is. There's what's happening is now this is escalating. Now this every time it happens, they send more troops in, and now they're talking about federalizing or whatever they're
Yeah,
doing. But this
it's
is
too
absolutely
much.
insane. This is
It's too
insane.
much.
This is
And there's a
insane.
lot of people came in this country, and again, they opened the floodgates. We got whatever, but they're hardworking individuals. They're here.
Mhm.
They're actually up on rooftops, and
Oh
you know,
yeah,
they're picking the fruit, and I mean,
yeah.
these are hardworking individuals. So let's find a pathway for them to be successful in our country. Like most of our families came and immigrated. Uh, there was a process, right? So let's go back, and even though the process wasn't in play years ago, let's put it in play now for some of these people. And if they're MS-13, if they're gangbangers and they're coming here to destroy our country, I'll be the first one to try and kick them out. I mean, there's no blanket policy either way, but what we don't have is clear policy.
Well, let me give you an analogy or a metaphor. I say almost every show. I'm a little bit of a marketing guy, so it's like you have this tuna net, and some dolphins get caught in it. I mean, that's
Right.
just what's going to happen when you go out there and you try to do mass action on anything at all. There are going to be some people that are accused or stopped or whatever that shouldn't be. That's just the way life is.
Well, we had mass importation,
Right.
right? And now we want mass deportation. And either one of those are not the right way to do this. It's not the way government's supposed to work. It's supposed to work a little slower than that, a little more
Mhm.
stabilized, have processes, and have people come to our country through a process. And same thing, if we're going to deport people, there needs to be a process, a clear plan, and a process. And that's, again, we're seeing the extremes, and that's not the way our society nor our community wants us to work, I don't think.
I have a personal theory about this too, about the strategy and tactics of it. Is that if you are outside of the country right now and you're looking to come in as an undocumented illegal immigrant, it doesn't look that attractive anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it obviously the numbers have
Yeah,
dropped to almost to zero, people coming into our country.
yeah.
That doesn't mean that the northern border, I mean, we look south all the time. The northern border has been porous for quite a while, and we've been fighting the drug trade up there for years, of drugs and illicit stuff coming across our border at the north end. Yeah, but there's definitely I'm sure a stigma out there, like this is not the time to come to America if you're not going to go through the gates, right? And
Yeah,
then go
yeah,
go
yeah.
through the proper doors.
You just touched on somebody I think people want to know a little bit more about. You're saying about the northern border. I think a lot of people aren't aware of that. Can you articulate that comment a little bit more?
Yeah, so if you think of the southern border, take out the sea part of it, the oceans and the Gulf, it's a pretty small physical border. Where if you look at the north, I mean, it stretches thousands of miles, and
Hmm.
there's no way it could be policed and secured.
Oh, true.
And it's been, I always laugh with just being a law enforcement officer and realizing what's coming across the northern border as far as illicit drugs and people sometimes. Uh, we go to Niagara Falls and we wait an hour and a half to get across the border to go through a checkpoint. I can literally go
To the
100 miles
casino,
left
yeah.
or right and simply walk across the border. I mean, it's not there's no wall, there's no fence. You go up to the northern border, talk to our sheriffs that work the northern border of New York State, and it's a walk across. It's not that difficult. Yet I sit an hour and a half waiting to show my immigration paperwork for someone because I want to go to Toronto for dinner.
Oh, that is an absurd thought. I mean, you have to wait an hour and a half to get to the casino, but you
Right.
just go 5 miles east of that. You just walk
And
across,
just walk,
some
literally. It's like,
Main Street someplace. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I think a lot of people aren't aware of that, though. Well, the other thing is that you got an administration who is kind of stretching what the Constitution means in a lot of different ways. So, yeah, that has an effect on things.
oh,
So let's
absolutely.
get a little bit closer to home. What are you doing here? I know there's a new program you want to talk about, the Shield program, and some really innovative things. So let me
Yeah.
have you at it.
Well, that's exciting. Thanks for letting me share this SHIELD, the Sheriff's Initiative for Education, Leadership, and Development. SHIELD, right? It's an acronym. And what it started with about 2 years ago in my mind, it started as an anti-poverty initiative. I've been part of our MAPI. I was with the first Rochester Anti-Poverty Initiative meeting, 10 years ago, maybe longer than that. And you don't see a lot of structural change in poverty, right? And so
Hmm.
I was thinking of the 19th ward of the city of Rochester. I grew up in the city. I policed the city for over 20 years. And I have a lot of empathy and compassion of people that are growing up in poverty. And I also need jail deputies. We're having a hard time recruiting any police officers, let alone
Mm.
jail deputies. Who, you don't want to be a police officer. You probably don't want to be a jail deputy. It's very difficult work, right? And then I thought about how we had a difficult time diversifying the organization. I've been really concentrating on that for a while and not having much luck. So this whole idea of these jobs, these are good paying civil service jobs that you can be earning $70,000 within a year and a half of getting hired. Uh, and we can hire jail deputies at 18 years old, not 21 like a police officer.
Wow.
And then always the sticking point was the New York State Civil Service test. It was rudimentary. It's old school. It
Hmm.
had no predictability of how good of a copy it'd be. We petitioned Albany to change the exam, and they did for corrections officers. They gave us a new type of exam where it's basically a trial, a training and evaluation. It evaluates you with your experience in life. It evaluates you on your
Uh,
character, and it gives you a score, a civil service score, believe it or not, based on this T&E exam. It's called T&E. Um, so with all these facets coming together, I started an initiative, started working about 2 years ago on it, hired some good people on a part-time basis just to start building it out. We started our first cohort last Saturday of 10 young people sitting in a classroom. They'll be with us twice a month for 4 hours on Saturday mornings, and we're going to build their life experience through this cohort model. We're going to give them the training and experience they need to pass that civil service test. And then if
mhm.
they have character, and they got that training experience, they score high enough in that exam, I could be hiring these guys at 18, 19 years old, guys and gals, and offering them a $70,000 dom. Think about that, how that would change their life,
Oh my God.
how that would change their household. How if I can hire, and I concentrated just on the 19th ward of the city of Rochester just to try and give impact, how can I change that neighborhood, right? If I can give 10 young people in the next 3 years,
Yeah.
4 years, $70,000 jobs, that changes the whole paradigm of things. So it's really exciting that we're able to build this. We're in our test model right now.
Mhm.
We got our first cohort going. We'll see how it goes. We'll do more of what's working. We'll do less of what's not working, and see if we can change the lives of some young people. See if I can get more employees in my jail. See if we could diversify and maybe change poverty in one section of the city of Rochester.
Well, that's a good way to go. I have to tell you, $70,000. At least we live in a place where you can actually afford a house. It's not like being on Nassau County,
Yeah,
Long Island, where a
yeah,
raised ranch costs you $1 million. I mean, that's
exactly. Go
you
down
know,
south. It's a
you could you could live in one of these outlying towns too, and have some place that's really really nice. Now, did they get retirement in that too?
yeah. So if we hire them,
You got to be kidding me. There's a retirement plan
yeah,
included.
we're
So
we're
how
we're
many years?
we're
How
one
many
of the
years?
last we're one of the last entities with this thing called the pension, and so they don't get it going through the Shield program.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
are through Rochester Works. We're actually paying them to go through this cohort, right? Where it's training. We're going to pay them to go through the training just to keep them interested in it. And maybe they had a part-time job somewhere else.
yeah,
Spend a little more time over here with us. We can help offset some of the income that you're going to lose. And with that payment through Rochester, we also want to teach them financial responsibility. We're teaching them
yeah,
how to run a checkbook, how to, what our priorities in finances, what a saving account looks like, and why you want to save.
yeah.
Uh, so we're teaching them life skills, but no, it's in the cohort. They're not in the pension system, but if we hire them as jail
No,
deputies,
that's what I mean. If
yeah,
you hire them,
18 years old, you're starting your pension. You can retire 25 years later with a good pension.
and then go out and get another job. Look at
Yeah, they'll be so young.
look
Yeah,
at
you can go out and get another job, right? Yeah.
look at Bob Duffy. He's getting like 15 retirements, right? I
I
mean,
won't say anything about him, but I'll say some people call it
Well,
double
no,
dipping. You hear that term,
he was
double dippers.
he was a police officer, then he was a police chief, then he was the mayor, and then as lieutenant governor, and now working at the as the CEO of
The
the
chamber.
Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce. I mean, talk about he said on my show a couple of weeks ago, yeah, I can't hold a job.
That was in my first campaign
Yeah,
when I ran my first
yeah.
campaign. That was some of the negative stuff that came out about me. Todd Baxter worked for the Rochester Police Department, then went to Greece, then went to the Veterans Outreach. He can't keep a job. It
I
was
can't
actually
keep
on
job.
the road share.
You know the thing that amazes me though, that they the people that like hold it against you, that guy is well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what life is like. You're successful, you move on.
yeah.
You're not sitting around watching TV. You do something else, you get another job. That's fine. Now,
It's
one
called
of the things
different.
that you said, I take back a lot of quotes from people over time. I've done this show since 2019. I think we have about 350 shows under the belt.
Wow, that's
And
great.
one of the things that you said, we were talking about these social issues and policing, and one thing I think it's a really great way of explaining things. You were explaining policing and the whole philosophy of this in in like fire prevention and what you have to do. And you want to go, you want to explain that concept again, because I can explain it, but it's better if you explain it.
Well, I think what we're talking about is, you take a school, right? A
Yeah.
school. When's the last time you heard of fire where anybody died inside a school during a fire, right?
Hmm.
Because they've taken all the preventive work. Years ago they did, but when you got building codes that work around fire safety, when you got practice drills that work around fire safety, when all the staff it works around fire safety, when OSHA comes in and inspects the building and fire,
Hmm.
you've done a comprehensive, holistic uh, approach of preventing a kid from dying in a school in a fire, and it's been 100% successful for the last how many decades. That still doesn't mean the firemen aren't right around the corner with an axe and a pike pole, and
Yeah.
they got to come and do their job because
Yeah.
bad things occur. I like to use that analogy. We could do that with a lot of other things in society when it comes to public safety and law enforcement. For
Yeah.
instance, active shooters in a school. We just take the same analogy. Yeah, we don't want to practice active shooter drills in schools because it traumatizes the kids, or
Hmm.
we don't want police officers in our school because it's a pipeline to prison or something like that people make. That's not comprehensive. That's not holistic. But we should be doing those preventive things 99% of our time. But we still got other warriors at the other end of this
Right.
that
Right.
are going to come crashing through the door. So law enforcement is really I don't even like the term anymore, law enforcement. I like the term public safety. We are a
Mhm.
public safety officer. We are a servant. We do enforce the law. We got no problem with that. We got handcuffs, right? We'll give you a ticket if you're
Yeah.
speeding. But 99% of what we do is really public service. So you got to have that dichotomy all the time in the back of your head. When you walk up to a traffic stop, and you should be smiling and say, "Ma'am, I'm pulling you over for this reason," and prepared for a death match in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Happen, right? And that's that dichotomy that a police officer lives in. First of all, we don't spend enough time on the prevention as a
Yeah.
society, and having these holistic conversations. But we also got to remember that a police officer is both a warrior and a servant, all
Hmm.
within minutes of each other. Sometimes it's a tough job description if you think about it.
Yeah, I like the way you framed that, because yes, you need to handle the systemic problems in society, but you also need somebody, with a fire engine or a gun. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, you need that too. You can't
yeah.
just do away with
It
the
sounds
other
nice.
side of this thing,
It sounds very nice. I would love to live in that utopia, but when we can't just turn it off and make sure I hope it. Same thing with gun control. Well, we got to stop making guns in America or stop. They're making them in basements right now. The ghost guns are prolific. So let's have another conversation about controlling gun violence besides just get rid of the guns. It's impossible. It's literally impossible.
But the genie's out of the bag already with that thing. I mean, unless you go and you collect all the guns, it's just not going to work. I mean, you
And
could
and
reduce the gun, but it's not.
Well,
It's
it's never
out
going to
there
occur.
already. Yeah.
Yeah,
What are you going to do?
maybe back in the day when there's only four manufacturers and only four people had the talent to build guns in America. Now they're building. We had it in Hilton not too long ago. We were taking a gun manufacturer out of a basement. He was making ghost guns in Hilton, New
Yeah.
York, in his
Yeah.
basement and pumping them in the streets of Rochester. I mean,
Yeah.
so those days are gone. So it goes back to if there's a demand for a product, there's always going to be a supplier for that product.
Yeah. Yeah.
We learned that in prohibition with alcohol, right? As long as there was a demand and we made it illegal, we took it all away, and there was still plenty of alcohol flowing, right?
Well, look what happened with pot just recently too. They passed a
Yeah.
law, make it legal, which actually increased the amount of illegal pot you had, right? I mean, isn't that exactly
Absolutely.
what
And,
happened? I
and
mean,
don't get me started. I don't know if you can see my birthday with Tony Mazurkowicz's name on it because he was killed in a drug trade,
yeah.
marijuana drug trade, a year and a half after they legalized it because Albany couldn't get their act together and open up a freaking store here in Monroe County.
Yeah.
And we told them the marijuana market's always been the black market. Now
Right.
you legalize the possession and they still had no stores. There was still no supply chain set up for it. So the black market simply went out of control and caused a lot of violence in the city of Rochester.
It's like I always say, it's the worst law of all is the law of unintended consequences.
Hmm.
So um, the other thing, like, let me ask you a question as a police officer. When you go up to somebody on a traffic stop, I mean, is your heart always pumping? Are you always is kind of wary? Or your blood pressure always go up? Or does it come a point in time? I'm sure when you first do your first one, you probably like that no matter what. But I mean, is over time do you get used to it?
No, No, nor should you. You don't want to be paranoid. You want to be prepared, right? And the fact that the first time you walk up to that car being lackadaisical and not suspicious and not cautious and not using your tactics and your techniques as you move up to that car, it's going to bite you sooner or later. It's going to come out and bite you. So no, I still do my progressive clearing of the car when I walk up. I was taught in the academy in
Mhm.
1987 to do it. I still do it to this day. I'm still ready for a guy to jump out with a gun. And that's the dichotomy that people don't understand. Now, when I approach the door, you're having a bad day because the lights are lit up behind you.
Mhm.
When I approach that door, I got to be officer friendly at the exact same time. So
Right.
I've said the same thing to the driver almost every time for almost 40 years. And it's like, good afternoon, may I see your driver's license, registration, and insurance card, please?
Yeah.
And that's my default. So I can be talking nice and smiling and trying to de-escalate this thing at
Yeah.
the same time, thinking like, what happens next? I got to be tactically prepared for it so I can go home. Uh,
Did you ever come across a sovereign citizen?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Well, let's say, I mean, just for the entertainment value of this, let's explain to everybody who doesn't know what a sovereign citizen is, because the most absurd thing, you can find these videos online all the time, but let's explain a sovereign citizen.
yeah. So a sovereign most often is a person that just 100% believes in our Constitution, believes in the whole world should be run around the Constitution. I mean, there's no state governments, there's no local law enforcement. The beautiful part, most of the times my experience has been as a police officer. Now as a sheriff, a sovereign will believe the sheriff is the only person that has true legal authority to
Oh,
be law
okay.
enforcement. So it's kind of got a little better for me. Although most sovereigns nowadays are more antagonistic and just don't care if you got a gun or a badge. They just don't want to listen to you. But really, they're constitutional following folks. And they'll challenge you. Like they'll tell a police officer on a traffic stop, I'm stopping for you, but you have absolutely no legal authority to detain me. You have no legal authority to give me a ticket. You have no legal authority to arrest me. With sort of a search warrant or an arrest warrant signed by a magistrate, there's no other law enforcement function that can be done outside of the
Yeah.
elected sheriff, which I happen to hold that seat
Yeah.
now.
Well, no, no, and let's go a little further. They'll put a cardboard license plate on their car, right?
Yeah.
And then they claim that they are traveling, not driving. I am traveling, and you can't restrict me from traveling. And the only thing is that you can stop me from business traveling, but you can't stop me for personal travel. And what do you do with these people? You got to drag them out of the car, right? I mean, this.
Yeah, I mean, it's they almost believe, and I think our Constitution is designed to protect people, make sure your freedoms are protected, right? Make sure your
Yeah,
your sovereignty is protected. But it's also structure. You got to have
yeah,
structure in society. I mean, our
yeah, yeah.
founding fathers put structure in there, then added the bills of your rights, and it's a great system. But you can't throw out one without the other. You can't have one without the other. You can't have all these rights without some structure in society, or else it's always going to be the biggest dog winning, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not the way our founding fathers, they realize there's always going to be bullies. They realize there's always
Yeah.
going to be someone trying to take advantage of us, whether it's government, protect us with our Bill of Rights, or it's going to be your neighbor next door. So with no rules, I can't imagine what we'd look like.
Now, let me ask you a question about something I'm a little confused on. They say that in a
I thought you were going to ask me about marriage, so I'm glad you're not. So
well,
you
no,
said,
we'll talk about that. And ladies and gentlemen, in full disclosure, Todd and his very lovely wife have been here for dinner, and she actually and Mary actually left her ring here,
yeah, yeah.
and it took us like 8 months to get the ring back to you, and that so my wife actually did not palm the ring. Okay,
No,
so
she did not, and
she
she's such
didn't
a
palm the ring.
lovely
Mary was
lady.
nice enough. Mary was nice enough to uh, help us do the dishes, and that's where it came out.
That's right.
Now, the last question I really have for you is the way things, with the sanctuary city and whatever like that. Now, if you have somebody in jail, now the federal authorities, ICE, can't go into your jail to pick this guy up, right? You got to release him. Is that the way things work?
Yes, that's correct. Now they can put a federal detainer, a federal warrant, not a
Mm-hmm.
detainer, a federal warrant signed by a magistrate, U.S. magistrate,
Mm-hmm.
that could hold them in the jail. But there's a difference between that warrant and a detainer. And we hear the
Mm-hmm.
word detainer all the time. We, by New York State law, are not allowed to hold people in any jail, not just Monroe County Jail,
Mm-hmm.
by a detainer. It means nothing as far as is placed in the care and custody of the local
Mm-hmm.
sheriff. Now, if they go get a warrant signed by a magistrate, then we could detain them. So there's a big difference that people get confused. That doesn't mean that ICE won't be aware
Mm-hmm.
that there's someone in our jail and they have a detainer form and they can pick them up at the door as they're leaving and detain them at a federal institution. But so we want to always be clear with the public. I keep on arguing with my local politicians and they keep on yelling at me back and forth and about it. We just follow the law. In New York State law on detainers, we don't detain. Although it says detainer, it's not a warrant signed by a judge.
Mm-hmm.
When people are placed in the care and custody of the sheriff, that's what the order says. And it's signed by a judge, a person that wears a black robe. I don't put people in the jail and I don't take people out of the jail. I don't have that authority, right?
Mm-hmm.
My job as sheriff is to detain in the jail based on a magistrate's order. And I think that's the way the society wants it. They don't want me to have that authority. They don't want other police officers to have that authority.
So how long have you
have that authority?
So how long have you been in law enforcement?
Next year it'll be 40 years, 39 years this year.
Oh, God bless you. And then you were in the military, right? I mean, obviously.
So I did 3 years active in the military before I left and became a city police officer in Rochester. Yeah.
Okay. Now,
so if you add that, I've been doing this. I was a military police officer, so I should add that in there. I've been doing this for almost 42 years now.
Oh, you were an MP?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so is David Bast. You have something in common.
He was a Marine, though, I believe, right? So.
Oh yeah.
We don't count.
Yeah, they're well,
it's strictly for Dave and all my Marine Corps friends.
Technically, they're the Navy, right? Is that what it is? Yeah,
subordinate to the Navy, right? All my Marines can calm down.
Oh, the rivalry. Well, I want to invite you on for another segment. A 5 or 10 minute segment. I do something on this show called. The voice of a veteran, and you have some really wonderful stories of fellas that you don't know, and you should know. And like I said, the stories are really, really incredible. People, especially people who have served, in the war on terror, Afghanistan, and whatever. And thank you for your service, and I really do appreciate what you do, both in this capacity and in your prior capacity as not a Marine.
Not a Marine. That's my new title. Not a Marine. What branch did you serve a country and not a Marine?
I tell this story. I have a good friend of mine who just passed away, Chuck Bricato. And Chuck was really like my best friend. I know I was not his best friend because he had more friends for more years than I did. And he couldn't get through his head that my grandson's name was Lorenzo, not Leonardo.
Oh.
So he couldn't get so Pat Prietti, one of my friends, made a T-shirt for the kid that says, I am not Leonardo, I am Lorenzo. So I just swore the shirt. Yeah, Lorenzo. Nice Italian name. And his brother is his brother is Marcello. So Italian.
Wow.
Well, anyway, so thank you very much. We'll have you over for dinner. Tell Mary to keep her jewelry at home this time, so we don't have to go through this. We'd love to come over again.
It was a great meal and great fellowship.
Well, thank you very much for your friendship and everything that you do there, buddy.
Likewise, friend. God bless you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. You can find our previous shows at nononsenseroundtable.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.